Despite failing to progress to the next round from group stage of the SAF Championship, Nepal has clinched a consolation win over Pakistan in the match that concluded just a while ago. In recent time, Nepali sports sector has made great strides in the international platform. However, calls are growing each day as the government continues to fail to give it as much priority. Good evening, I'm Chitrakar and these are the headlines of the hour. Central Investigation Bureau arrests former officers of the Department of Land Management and Land Revenue Office along with businessman Min Bahadur Gurung in connection with the Lalita Niwas land scam. Minister for Finance Prakash Charan Mahat says the decision to put district election offices under local administration was a mistake, expresses commitment of not scrapping the district units. A jet linked to Wagner chief Prigozhin flies to Belarus as Russia's FSB drops criminal investigation over his armed mutiny, part of a deal negotiated by Belarusian president. And Nepal clinches a 1-0 consolation win over Pakistan in their last group stage match of the SAF Championship. Both teams, however, are already out of the tournament. Minister for Finance Prakash Charan Mahat has expressed commitment of not scrapping district election offices. During the meeting of the House of Representatives held today, Minister Mahat said that the decision to bring district election offices under the jurisdiction of the local administration office was a mistake. The government had announced of bringing the offices under the district administration from upcoming fiscal year. The Election Commission had been urging the government to withdraw its decision. Lawmakers of Rashtriya Swatantra Party had demanded the government withdraw its decision as soon as the session began today. Speaker Devraj Khemire had halted the meeting for 15 minutes after the lawmakers warned of obstructing the parliament if the government decision was not withdrawn. During the meeting, RSP chairperson Rabila Michhane opined that the decision to merge district election offices with the local administrations would weaken democracy. Main opposition CPN-UML had backed RSP's demand. CPN-UML lawmaker Padam Giri accused the government of attempting to influence elections through such a decision. The Ministry for Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation has demanded a 9-point clarification from Managing Director of Nepal Airlines Corporation, Pradeep Adhikari, citing its operation against government law. Adhikari has 1 week to furnish the clarification. This comes amid government preparations to separate the corporation into a regulating body and a service provider unit. The ministry has accused Adhikari of airing remarks against the government decision. He has also been accused of involvement in activities that challenge government policy, failing to ensure flight safety and acting against the flight safety audit conducted by International Civil Aviation Organization ICAO in 2022. Minister for Tourism Sudan Kirati has alleged Adhikari of undermining flight security by allowing operation of 5 aircrafts during the inauguration of Pokhara International Regional Airport on the 1st of January this year, among others. More than 125 people have been killed by natural disasters in Bagmati province alone in the past 2 years. Out of those, 110 people were killed by floods and landslides. Meanwhile, the province government is silent on organizing preparedness programs even as the monsoon season has started. According to the data provided by the Bagmati Province Police Office, more than 1,300 domestic animals were killed in the natural disasters, while more than 1,160 houses have been damaged in the past 2 years. Until 22nd of June this year, 22 people have died in rain-induced disasters in Bagmati Province during this fiscal year, while 18 have suffered injuries. 2 people are still missing and 7 people were rescued. There has been deaths and property damage every year due to the rain-induced disasters. The Internal Affairs and Law Ministry of Bagmati Province, which has spent 80 million rupees in rescue and relief materials, has not yet paid any attention for preparedness programs to deal with the disasters. Meanwhile, the province police have claimed that they are keeping surveillance at various places that are at risk of floods and landslides. saying that there could be untoward incidents in 45 places in 10 districts of the province. The police have claimed that they have made 630 police personnel ready to help in rescue efforts. Time now for our segment, Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. Here's the question: why is there delay in relocating settlements that are at risk? The options are A, insensitive government, B, lack of resources, and C, no appropriate alternative. Voting is on. Type any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. The Lumbini provincial level has concluded a 2-day joint exercise to minimize risks of water-induced disasters in Dang. The program was held to raise awareness regarding early warning, rescue and relief operation and relocation. Security personnel from Nepal Army, Nepal Police and Armed Police Force demonstrated 6 different exercises in the banks of Rapti River in Lamahi municipality. The concerned entities of 12 districts in Lumbini province has also spread awareness in their local level regarding the possible risk of water-induced disasters like floods and landslides. People with visual impairments in Chapa have expressed of difficulty in making a living amid lack of employment opportunities and have urged concerned authorities to take required initiatives to address the issue. There are 300 visually impaired individuals in Chapa, some of whom spoke during an interaction program in beta mode. The chairperson of Chapa's Blind Youth Association Nepal, Dilkumar Rajbangsi, has said that there are 50 individuals that are blind who have completed their education up to grade 12 and are skilled. Out of them, only 17 are currently employed and the remaining 33 are in search of jobs. Time now for international update. A jet linked to Russian mercenary chief Yevgeny Prigozhin has arrived in Belarus from Russia, believed to be carrying him to exile 3 days after he led an aborted mutiny against the Russian military. Russia's RIA state news agency reported the authorities had dropped a criminal case against Prigozhin's Wagner group following the aborted mutiny over the weekend, which challenged the military's handling of the war in Ukraine. With Russian President Vladimir Putin attempting to reassert his authority in the aftermath of the mutiny, the Kremlin said Putin would later address members of Russian military units, the National Guard, security forces and others who had helped to uphold order during the revolt. Under a deal agreed late on Saturday that diffused the crisis, the Kremlin said fighters who took part in the mutiny would not be prosecuted. Prigozhin had said he would go to neighboring Belarus at the invitation of its president, Alexander Lukashenko. But details of his proposed journey into exile were not made public. Putin said in an address yesterday that the mutiny leaders had betrayed their motherland, although he did not mention Prigozhin by name. Wagner fighters would be permitted to establish themselves in Belarus, join the Russian military or go home, he said. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told a regular news briefing today the deal ending the mutiny was being implemented, but said he had no information on where Prigozhin was. He also said he did not know how many Wagner fighters would sign contracts with the Defense Ministry. In Putin's overnight speech, the president's first public comments since the mutiny, he confirmed that Russian pilots had been killed fighting against the march on Moscow. He thanked Russians for showing patriotic solidarity in the face of it. The UN monitoring mission in Ukraine has said that Russia has detained more than 800 civilians since the conflict began last February, of whom 77 were executed. The 36-page report, based on 70 visits to detention centers and more than 1,000 interviews, showed that Ukraine had also violated international law by arbitrarily detaining civilians, but on a considerably smaller scale. Matilda Bogner, head of the UN Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine, told a press conference by video link that over 900 cases of detention were documented, but the vast majority of these cases were perpetrated by the Russian Federation. Bogner added the execution by Russia amounted to a war crime. No such executions were documented by the Ukrainian side. Of the 864 civilians held by Russia, the UN Human Rights Office was able to document 178 cases in detail. Of those, more than 90% were tortured, the report said, citing incidents of waterboarding, electrocution, and the use of a hot box where detainees are held in solitary confinement in a box in high temperatures. The detention took place in both Ukraine and Russia. The UN documented 75 cases of detention of civilians by Ukrainian forces, saying changes to Ukraine's criminal codes had given Kyiv greater discretion to carry out such practices. It said that more than half of them had also been subjected to torture or ill treatment. Ukraine gave UN investigators full access with the exception of one incident, the report said, while Russia did not provide any access to detainees despite repeated requests. At least 13 people have been killed and 17 others injured in rain-related accidents in parts of Pakistan's central Punjab province over the past 24 hours, the Provincial Disaster Management Authority (PDMA) said. In Lahore, the capital of Punjab, traffic and pedestrians were seen navigating flooded streets after heavy rain overnight. The deaths so far were due to lightning strikes and collapsed roofs, mainly of the towns of Narowal and Sheikhpura, PDMA said. Pre-monsoon rain also lashed the country's northwestern Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and southwestern Balochistan provinces on Monday morning, local media reported. Heavy rain and dust thunderstorms are predicted in upper and central parts of the country from June 25 to 30 with occasional gaps, Pakistan's meteorological department said. The country's monsoon season usually begins in the first week of July, lasting until mid-September. Former Audi boss Rupert Stadler was handed a suspended sentence of 1 year and 9 months by a Munich court today for fraud by negligence in the 2015 diesel scandal, becoming the first former Volkswagen board member to receive such a sentence. The ex-boss was fined 1.1 million euros, which will go to the state treasury and non-governmental organizations, the court said. The sentence is in the middle of the 1.5 to 2-year time frame the judge had said the former CEO would face if he confessed to the charge. His lawyer, Ulrich Tholgrol, said in May that Stadler did not know that vehicles had been manipulated and buyers had been harmed, but recognized it was a possibility and accepted that there was a need for more care. Prosecutors had originally wanted a 2 million euro fine, citing Stadler's salaries at Audi and Volkswagen and his financial and real estate assets. Stadler's trial, one of the most prominent court proceedings in the aftermath of the diesel scandal, has been ongoing since 2020. Audi's parent group, Volkswagen and Audi, admitted in 2015 to having used illegal software to cheat on emissions tests. According to prosecutors, engineers manipulated engines in such a way that they complied with legal exhaust emission values on the test bench but not on the road. Stadler was accused of failing to stop the sale of the manipulated cars after the scandal became known. He had previously rejected the allegations. Former Audi executive Wolfgang Hatz, also on trial with Stadler, was sentenced to a 2-year suspended sentence with a 400 euro fine, while the third defendant, engineer Giovanni P., was handed a year and 9 months and a 50,000 euro fine. The prosecutor's office and the accused can appeal until July 4. 7 people are missing after heavy rain triggered landslides in China's Sichuan province, state broadcaster CCTV reported on Tuesday. Over 900 people were evacuated and over 400 personnel were dispatched for the search and rescue mission, state media reported. The landslides occurred in Wenchuan counties Bangzhou, Mianxi and Xingxiago township. Wenchuan County was the epicenter of the 8 8.0 magnitude Sichuan earthquake, which killed nearly 70,000 people in 2008. Palestinians in Jerusalem and the West Bank joined Muslims around the world preparing for Eid al-Adha, one of the Islam's two main festivals. Eid al-Adha marks the climax of the annual Hajj pilgrimage, when Muslims slaughter animals to commemorate the willingness of Ibrahim or Abraham to sacrifice his son on God's command, often distributing meat to the poor. In Jerusalem, markets were bustling with families and children enjoying shopping for the festive holiday, but merchants said they were concerned about what appeared to be a relatively low turnout compared to past years. Despite rising tensions in West Bank for the past few months, markets were busy with shoppers buying sweets, fruits, clothes and other holiday treats ahead of the upcoming four-day holiday. Merchants piled up their shops with nuts, dried fruit and candy, hoping to cash in on the holiday rush. The holiday will begin on Wednesday and finish on Saturday. Although the cattle is relatively expensive in the West Bank Palestinian market, the demand is still high ahead Eid al-Adha, being a religious and cultural custom that people maintain as much as they can. A kilogram of livestock is sold for around $10 US, which makes a head of cattle cost something around $650 pre-slaughtering, depending on weight, making it one of the most expensive cattle in the Middle East in comparison to other countries. Hundreds of anti-government protesters blocked a street and scuffled with the police in demonstration that escalated into violence outside the home of Israeli Justice Minister Yariv Levin in the Israeli city of Modin. Protesters banged drums, set a tire ablaze and hung large signs on neighbors' balconies accusing Prime Minister Levin of snatching the country, referring to what they say is the influence the Justice Minister has over Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the judicial overhaul process. In a response on Facebook, Levin criticized the police for selective enforcement to the incident, which subjected his entire neighborhood to a frenzy. Israel's police said that 6 people were detained in the course of the protest. The proposed changes, which include curbs on the court's ability to rule against the government, has sparked months of frequent street protest across the country. It comes after Israeli lawmakers began debating a bill that would limit the Supreme Court's powers, rebooting a fiercely opposed judicial overhaul instigated by Netanyahu's religious nationalist coalition. Anti-government demonstrations had prompted Netanyahu to suspend his judicial drive in March to allow compromise talks with opposition parties. He declared those talks fruitless last week and ordered some of the legislation to be revived. Nepal has chalked out a consolation 1-0 win over Pakistan at the SAF Championship as Ashish Chaudhary scored his first goal for the national team. In the match held in Bangalore's Kantipur Stadium, the first half ended in goalless stalemate. In the 11th minute of the match, Bimal Khartimagar had a 1 versus 1 advantage but failed to score. Bimal once again faltered in a free kick. Nepal's custodian Kiran Chemjong saved a scare as Pakistan's Muhammad Umar Hayat attempted to score in the 23rd minute. Bimal attempted to score once again in the 42nd minute. However, Pakistan's goalkeeper saved his attempt. In the 68th minute, Devendra Tamang's attempt shot the bar. 2 minutes later, Eric Bista also got a free kick, however, failed to make a difference. Ashish Chaudhary broke the deadlock in the 80th minute, scoring his first goal for the national team. Nepal produced plenty of chances towards the fag end of the match, but could not capitalize on them. Manish Dangi and Ashish both had open chances, which they failed to convert. With this, Nepal's journey at the 14th SAF Championship has ended. Nepal had faced a 3-1 goal defeat at the hands of Kuwait in its first group stage match and 2-0 defeat with India. India and Kuwait have entered into the semi-finals of the championship. That's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.